Good morning, ladies and gentlemen and ladies. How are you today? Welcome back to the H2 Show Studios, and it is your host, Jeffrey, and we are back on this fantastic Flat Bill Friday. So I am here with the Flat Bill. You are here with me. Let's get right into it. Let's get to the rundown. So as you saw in the notes, periodic tables, dinner tables, and goats doing yoga? Question mark. We'll see what that's all about as we go through the show. As you know, I like to start off with the National Day. So today, the National Day is Periodic Table Day. So as you all know, periodic table maybe is basically how we classify all elements. So the periodic table has a long history, and the discovery of elements impacted science in many ways. Ancient man only knew of a few elements. However, by the 1st century AD, mankind knew about the elements of gold, silver, copper, iron, lead, tin, mercury, sulfur, and carbon. Over time, we added arsenic, antimony, phosphorus, zinc, and others to our discovery. By 1809, there were 47 discovered elements, and it was time to organize. And John Daubernier made one of the earliest attempts to do that. He organized the elements in 1817 into groups of 3 or triads based on similar qualities. On February 7th, 1863, John Newlands, an English chemist, published one of the first table of elements. Newlands divided the known 56 elements of the time into 11 groups based on the law of octaves. His table suggested that any one element will have similar properties to elements 8 places before and behind it on the table. Arranging the elements according to increasing atomic weight, Newlands was one of the first scientists to detect a pattern to the property of elements, and as a result, he left room on his table for new discoveries. And it even predicted future discoveries that would complete the table. In fact, Newland correctly predicted the discovery of germanium. Future discoveries. While part of Newland's periodic table contained flaws, so did other later proposed tables. In 1869, chemist Dmitry Mendeleev published a paper developing a new periodic table. Mendeleev's table also arranged the elements based on atomic mass, but this time science had only identified 60 of the over 100 elements we know today. As on previous tables, inaccuracies were attributed to some of those elements. While Mendeleev corrected some of the inaccuracies, he didn't correct them all. Mendeleev made assumptions about other causing elements to be placed incorrectly on the table. Like Newland, Mendeleev also predicted discoveries, and he correctly predicted the properties of 5 more elements and their compounds. It's very interesting, the ability of humans to recognize patterns, and so that's kind of what we're seeing here is over time, each of these scientists was incrementally building off of the others. So the discoveries throughout Scott William Ramsay's career from 1892 to 1910, along with John William Strutt, Morris Travers, and Frederick Soddy, led to the identification of the noble gases, those being things like xenon and helium, not hydrogen, but helium. In 1904, the Nobel Prize was awarded to Ramsay for discovering 5 elements. Henry Moseley was another experimental physicist, and he discovered each element had a specific number of protons. As a result, 4 new chemicals were later found, though not during his lifetime. So, all that is to say, since the early 20th century, the periodic table remains largely unchanged. However, the 21st century is still young. Some researchers suggest approaches to the periodic table while maintaining its integrity as one of the most valuable tools in the science of chemistry. The current table tallies a total of 118 elements. So, thank you to those scientists. It's pretty awesome. Let's celebrate something that I have a little chemistry with, and that is the other national day that it is, which is National Fettuccine Alfredo Day. I love pasta. We all love pasta, I think, unless we've got a gluten allergy. And then there's gluten-free pasta. Shout out to La Trattoria, who has some great pasta over there. You can get you some good fettuccine Alfredo here on the square, if that's what you're looking for. On February 7th, National Fettuccine Alfredo Day celebrates one of the world's favorite ways to enjoy a plate of fettuccine. Fettuccine Alfredo enjoys a history as rich as its flavor. Created in 1908, fettuccine was made out of love and concern by an Italian restaurateur. So it's amazing what you will do for love. In this case, Alfred de Lilo's concern was for his pregnant wife. She had a lack of appetite, and he put his talents to work to try to make sure she had something to eat. The birth of their first son depended on it. His recipe of noodles, cheese, and butter not only encouraged her to eat, but also inspired him to put it on the menu too. Since then, the century-old dish has been satisfying pasta lovers around the world. And not only that, but fettuccine Alfredo lovers experiment with the dish in several ways: shrimp, mushrooms, spinach. One of the biggest recommendations is to, if you like wine and you drink wine, to cut it with white wine and to pair it with a fruit dessert to cut through the richness of the butter and the cheese. So here's to fettuccine Alfredo. Maybe have a plate while you look over the periodic table. Maybe have a dinner plate with a periodic table on it. Who knows? All right, let's move to this day in history. As we take our trip back in time, this day in history, in 1613, Mikhail Romanov became the Tsar of Russia. In 1795, the 11th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was passed. I'm not sure how I feel about that amendment, to be honest. It basically said that a state has to agree to let you sue them as a private citizen in federal court. I kind of feel like I should be able to sue you as a state if the merits are there, whether you agree to it or not. But who knows? Just an interesting amendment. In 1900, the British Labour Party is formed. In 1940, the movie Pinocchio is released by Walt Disney. Let's go, Pinocchio. One of my favorite movies, not to watch necessarily every time, but for the moral story that comes with it. And, we all love Jiminy Cricket and Got to Let Your Conscience Be Your Guide. The original story was a much darker story, and you can go look that up, but Pinocchio was a little meaner in that story and may or may not have killed the cricket. In 1964, the Beatles first came to the United States. That was obviously an epic thing for music. Little known fact, I believe Michael Jackson bought the Beatles catalog license when it came up for sale, and I think it made Paul McCartney mad at him. I have to look that back up. 1984, NASA astronauts take the first untethered spacewalk. Kind of creepy to think about being out in space with nothing to hold you back, but the photographs of Brooke McCardless and Robert L. Stewart hovering freely in space became some of the most iconic images in the 1980s. In 1990, you had the collapse of the Soviet Union. In 92, the European Union was formed. And in 2005, Ellen MacArthur broke the speed record for sailing around the world solo. It took her 71 days, 14 hours, 18 minutes, and 33 seconds. That is insane. To be by yourself for 71 days, almost 72 days, and be sailing around the world. The level of concentration. I don't think I could do it. All right, let's move to birthdays. Just one second. I know sometimes it feels like Jeopardy when I'm over here clicking and clicking and clicking. Like, when's he going to actually come back and talk? I get it. So birthdays today. James Spader, one of my favorite actors. He is so good at playing a role where his voice is, it just sounds epic and kind of creepy. So love James Spader. Garth Brooks, 1962 is when he was born. So happy birthday to Garth Brooks. Many a childhood memory of mine is spent listening to a Garth Brooks song. There's too many to count, but Papa Loved Mel, or Mama Loved Mel, There was the one where he was calling Baton Rouge. That one's always very popular down there at LSU. Or he went to work with her that summer. That one was a little suspect when you start listening to the lyrics. Just saying. 1962, Eddie Izzard was an English actor and comedian. I think this one, age might start to slap him in the face. 1966, that's Chris Rock. 1978, Ashton Kutcher. Am I being punked or are you? Ashton Kutcher is now 47. And then let's get into some fun stuff. So this is where the goat yoga starts. Let me get you right here in front of me because honestly, we need to have a real conversation. Okay. Can we all admit our government is silly and sometimes just like fundamentally unserious? Because I think we can. All right. You've heard countless stories of how our government spends our money. It's your money. It's our money. It's not their money. They're taking it from us, and we are supposed to expect the federal government to spend that money in a responsible manner. I think there's things we can all agree on, like, hey, we need a military. We've got to have some way to generate revenue. So there's got to be some sort of tax service that's collecting taxes, or maybe we don't all agree on that. The people that work and serve in the government in some way have to get paid so that they're not subject to like getting bribed by other people, this and that and the third. With Medicare probably needs to exist, right? Some little safety net for social services. Well, I think we all agree that there's some need for all that. What I don't think we agree with, $1.5 million studying the impact of yoga on goats. Yoga on a goat. I showed you the GIF. I mean, that was a goat doing yoga on top, or a woman doing yoga with a goat on top of her back. I'm not really sure how that works either, but I don't know that we need to be paying $1.5 million to study that. This Doge investigation thing, it's very controversial, left, right, center, whatever. People are freaking out, and I think there's room for argument on, are we doing it the right way, and so on and so forth. But the outrageous things that are coming out of what our government spends money on. There was something to the effect of $7 million spent on magic, like studying magic. Now, I think some of that was being spent for like a museum called like the Magic City Science Museum. If you're going to believe it, I don't know the answers to these questions. We spent something like $1 million a year on Politico, but they're saying those are subscriptions. I don't know what subscriptions we're subscribing to that cost $1 million a year. I have no idea. All I'm saying is the government is spending a lot of money, and it's not really evident where it's all going. And I think it's not a bad thing for us to investigate that, just like you want to know where all your money's going. Here, I got some other ones that I thought were funny. So let's just have a little fun. $1 million studying the effects on music on dairy cows. I'm pretty sure we could find some people that would play music for the dairy cows for free. I don't know that we have to give $1 million for people to study that. Here's another one. The government managed to misplace $281 billion in 2021. Where'd that go? No idea. $1.7 million to study the effects of alcohol on fish. I mean, can I get some of that money? I could study the alcohol effects on fish. $5 million on a campaign to promote an alternative music scene to get hipsters to stop smoking. Okay, I'm not real sure about that. I think we've all seen the stop smoking campaigns. That seems kind of silly. $385,000 was spent on a 16-foot tall pigeon sculpture for New York's Highline Park. Don't understand that. $12 million invested in pickleball complex in Las Vegas, despite local opposition. There was one that said, I think it was $20 million. Now I'm gonna blank on where that one went. Oh, it was Sesame Street, like a Sesame Street version in Iraq. So let me explain that to you in maybe more terms that we can all understand. I don't know that I'll ever see $20 million in cash. But let's put it this way. The average taxpayer pays $20,000. So if the average taxpayer pays $20,000, and I'm just going to do the math while we stand here, that means that to spend $20 million, that would be 1,000 taxpayers' full tax payment being spent to create Sesame Street in Iraq. That seems a little silly. So what I'll leave you with is left, right, center. Find what you can agree with each other on. Let's have some unity in this. Our government is wasting some of our money. We all know it. I think we can all agree that they don't spend it how we would choose to spend it. I think we can all agree that there's some aggressive things happening, like it's happening really, really fast and rapidly. And maybe we think that's too fast, too rapid. Some other people might tell you, well, when it's this bad, you gotta go quick, and some people are gonna suffer a little bit, but it's gonna be worth it in the end. I don't know the right answer. What I do know is that you and your fellow Americans and the citizens that pay taxes deserve to know where your money goes to, deserve to have good people in leadership. So continue to let your voices be heard, but realize that your neighbor is probably closer to you than any bureaucrat that lives or works in Washington, D.C. I don't care who they are. You're a person that lives right next door to you, the people that you shop in the grocery store with, your friends and family that live that you don't agree with at Thanksgiving, whether it be the uh, conservative uncle, right wing uncle, or the left leaning hippie aunt, whatever stereotype you want to put in your mind, think about it. Those people are closer to agreeing with you, and they're closer to you, and they matter more to you than anybody in DC. And the people in DC probably don't care about you as much as those folks do. So just remember to love your neighbor and love your family, and keep them close. But also, we can all laugh. It's okay to laugh together about goat yoga, no matter where it came from. That's funny, objectively funny. All right, let's move on to some local news. Do you like wings and beer? Do you like, hold on, sorry. I mean, Brent, yes, everyone loves Sesame Street, but I don't know that we need to be paying $20 million to make Sesame Street available to Iraq. We may need to donate some TVs, all those TVs that nobody bought on Black Friday this year. Okay, back to the local news. Do you like wings? Do you like beer? Do you like sports? Do you want a place that you can actually watch a UFC fight? Well, then, do I have some news from you? According to the city menu, the Buffalo Wild Wings is set to open March 8th, bringing sports and wings back to town. So if we think about it, we used to have Taco Mac. It was a very popular sports bar at the time. Early 2000s, that shut down. And it probably shut down because of, people stopped going so much. Maybe it was too expensive, whatever it was. But let's think about it this time. Go out and support your local Buffalo Wild Wings here. It's the first time we've had a place that really we can watch the UFC fights together. And I know a lot of fight fans were looking for something like this. It's expensive if you want to be a UFC fan. It really is. You've got to have an ESPN Plus subscription. You got to pay for $80 fights. They shut down every streaming service. I'm not saying that you should illegally stream. I'm just saying there were people that did that because they wanted to be fight fans, and they were and those continue to get shut down. I'm in a lot of Facebook groups about MMA, and it's expensive to be a UFC fan. It's starting to become expensive to be any kind of sports fan, but this will offer you that opportunity to be able to enjoy that, and to be able to enjoy it around other people that are like-minded individuals that enjoy the fights too. And I think those things are doubly good. You start enjoying it around other people that like similar things to you, and you might make a friend, make a connection, build a community. So thank you, Buffalo Wild Wings, for coming to Carrollton. I'm excited about that. Yesterday, I mentioned that I went to the open forum about this HB 581. It was an interesting open forum. I'll say this: our mayor and our city council all seemed very open to conversation. They didn't seem to be hostile in any way when we were talking to them, or respond negatively to any of the conversation that people brought up. They were very patient with us. Tax law is complicated. The things are written in legalese. It's tough to kind of read through it. I'm still getting my arms around some of it, right? But the state law was written, HB 581, with the intention of making it easier on us, the property owners who have a homestead exemption, to understand how our taxes would change year to year, and make that easier on us. What happened to a lot of people in the past maybe 4 or 5 years is that your property value, it had not been reassessed for a while. And because of that, when it finally did get reassessed, the base value that they calculate your taxes on had risen, and they were essentially hitting you with that right as we were actually entering what was a sort of soft recession, however you want to say that, um, where the money was tighter. Inflation had hit us, and we didn't have as much free cash flow in our personal budgets. And so some people I know were having to take out loans to pay their property tax, or having to use credit cards to pay their property tax, because it went from, I'm making up numbers, 1,000 this year to 3,000 the next year. So it tripled in their property tax because their house had not been assessed for so long. It kind of added up as opposed to it kind of going up slowly over time. So the intention of this HB 581 was to kind of peg that so that a bad municipality, one that wasn't making good business decisions, or couldn't just raise those rates really, really quickly and put you in a bind. And so the opt-out kind of surprised me. It doesn't surprise me in that the local government believes that local autonomy is the number one thing they should keep, right? Is I want to be able to manage this locally because it is a local matter. So I get that. And maybe they need some flexibility that, hey, the state saw an overall 3% increase in their cost, but Carrollton saw a 10% increase in their cost. And so we need to be able to make up for that in some way in the revenue that we generate, because cost of living is more localized. I'm not sure, because the state law was written such that the maximum they could increase it would be whatever the state says, and that if they wanted to do less, they could do less, but not more. So I'll ask more questions this next review period, I think, just to get some clarity and make sure that I understand the other bullet points of the law and how it's written. They're going to hold another special meeting on Thursday, February 13th at 6 p.m. So that's next week, week from yesterday. And they'll be talking about the HB 581 homestead exemption opt-out again. So I appreciate y'all leaning in with me on some tax law. That was kind of boring. I hope you hadn't fallen asleep. And I do. Yeah, Jenny loves some Buffalo Wild Wings. I do too. It's amazing. Let's go over here. Get back in my face. And let's do the verse of the day. So as you know, here at the H2 show, we love you. We want to see you succeed. We care about you. We know that God loves you. Whether you're a believer or not, we like to give you these messages every day. We hope you will be eventually a believer, but this is a positive message for you to take and use in your everyday life, because these are universal principles. So let's read through it. So today we're going to read from Proverbs. It's going to be Proverbs 18:21. I'm going to look here at a different version. I like to look at multiple versions at once so that I can read the one that I think best applies, or is easiest to understand. So in the NIV version, again, Proverbs 18:21, the tongue has the power of life and death, and for those that love it will eat its fruit. Another version of that, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. So here's what I want you to know. How you talk to yourself, how you talk to others, the words you say, they matter. The reason that our First Amendment is about free speech is because I think our founding fathers and the folks that were part of those founding documents recognized that the words that we have are how we think as humans, and how we can express ourselves. And so those words have power and they have meaning. Use them wisely. You can talk to yourself negatively as well. It's not just other people. How you sow into yourself, what you say, if you mess up, saying you're a big dummy, I'm a big dumb idiot, that sort of thing is not good for your mental health. It's not good for your spiritual health. It will not build you up. You also have the power to reach out to others. I got my teeth cleaned yesterday, and the dentist gave me a little bag, and it said, smile first and make someone else's day. Your words are the same way. You can say positive things to other people. You can say negative things to other people. And you can build them up or you can break them down. And you may not even ever know you did it. So, throughout your day today, think about how you speak to others. Be mission focused, but others centered. Your mission is that you're going to build others up. You're going to help them find the love of God and of Jesus and bring those things to them. And you're thinking about ways to do that. And you're speaking to these people, anybody, your friends, your family, the stranger on the street. How you talk to them, greet them with a smile, shake their hand, fist bumps, whatever they're okay with. If you know them well and they want a hug, give them a hug. You may not be a hugging person. Sometimes I'm not a hugging person. But just give them a hug. Because sometimes they need that and you don't know what they're going through. But those words and that love that you show them can make an immeasurable impact over time. So with that, we love you guys. We want you to do well. We know that you know how to do hard things, right? We've established that. You know how to do hard things. Choose your hard. It's going to be a hard thing that limits you, or is it going to be a hard thing that lets you free and lets you go out there and succeed? Pick your hard. It's hard to wake up in the morning. It's hard to put your shoes on. Do it early so you can get to work early. Do it early so you can help your kids get ready. Whatever it is, your kids are going to have a hard time getting up. Well, that's okay. It's going to be hard on you to either get them up last minute, or it's going to be hard on you to get them up in the beginning. And I promise you they're going to leave with a more positive attitude if you give them a little more time to adjust to the day. And you can sow love into them. All right? We love you guys. I don't like to say goodbye. I like to say, as Mickey Mouse would say, see you real soon. So I hope you join me again tomorrow. But
at the end of the day, the day got to end.